Hello, dear friends. I have always loved and admired the Hopi people for their sense of spirituality and for being a highly advanced and civilized people who set an example for all of us Westerners. Today, I'm going to talk about the legend of the Ant people and their connection to the Anu-Naki of Sumeria. Opinion piece: Hopi-Anunnaki Connection, Secrets of Chaco Canyon, Legend of the Ant people. Could the Ant people return? They saved the Hopi from a cataclysm. They speak of two worlds cataclysms. The Hopi call themselves the most ancient. They live in harmony with Mother Earth. They are very peaceful, polite, and civilized. Hopi connection to the Anunnaki. The Babylonian sky god was named Anu. Anu-Naki means friends of the ants in Hopi. The Hopi do their ceremonies for the welfare of all. The Anasazi were integrated with the Hopi, Zuni, and Rio Grande. Ant-men also exist in ancient Greek mythology. Let's start. The more you look at ancient texts and stories from around the world, you can't help but see striking resemblances. Some are so striking that it takes great effort to ignore them, but that's what many people do. Also, among the myths and legends that make up Greek mythology, one in particular captures our attention: the Myrmidons, brave warriors who fought alongside Achilles in the Trojan War. Among all elements that we can highlight about this still mysterious people, one in particular seduces us: their origin. It is believed that the Myrmidons are the descendants of ants, a very advanced people. But the greatest example is the Native American Hopi tribe and their beliefs in ant people. Other Native American tribes sometimes refer to the Hopi of the southwestern US as the most ancient. The Hopi refer to themselves as the peaceful people or the little peaceful ones. The Hopi dictionary primarily defines the word Hopi as polite, well-behaved, well-mannered, civilized, peaceful, and adhering to the Hopi way, in contrast to the warrior tribes who subsist on plunder. In other words, they are a highly civilized people and an example of morality and ethics to Westerns. Hopi is a concept deeply based on the religion, spirituality, morality, and ethics of the tribe. To be Hopi is to strive for an ideal that derives a state of total reverence and respect for all things, to be at peace with all things, and to live according to the instructions of the Creator and Caretaker of the earth. The Hopi perform their ceremony for the welfare of the whole world. According to their mythology, human beings inhabited a primordial world, but sinned against the gods, indulging in aggression and sexual promiscuity. That is why Grandmother Spider led the chosen ones to a second world and destroyed the first one. The perverse nature of the human being caused the process to repeat itself until reaching the fourth world of our present world, where evil is also repeated. This fourth world could have been the remainder of a great universal flood, or be above the third. Humans would have climbed a giant bamboo located in the Grand Canyon of Colorado to flee from the announced destruction. In this migration, a god, Pahana, marched eastward and has to return after a few centuries, in a myth analogous to Quetzalcoatl. Several legends and symbols have been passed from Hopi generation to generation to recognize Pahana when he returns. Definition: The Hopi are a people descended from ancient Amerindians who built large apartment complexes and possessed an advanced culture that encompassed the region known today as the Four Corners, which included southwestern Utah, northeastern Arizona, northwestern New Mexico, and southwestern Colorado. They inhabited along the Mogollon Ring, especially from the 12th to the 14th century, when they disappeared. One such group was known as the Anasazi, a people who flourished and mysteriously disappeared between 550 and 1300 after Christ. The mystery of the Hopi people is hidden in their oral tradition and wisdom. Ant-men were beings who helped the Hopi but forced them to hide underground. The Hopi people are a Native American tribe, often recognized for populating North America and, in particular, Arizona. In the 2010 census, 19,338 tribal members were counted in the U.S. The Hopi language is one of 30 belonging to the Uto-Aztecan family. The Spanish conquistadors called the Hopi Pueblo Indians or village Indians because they live in communities that bore a strong resemblance to Spanish villages. Most of the Hopi people are registered with the Hopi tribe of Arizona. Some, however, are registered with the Colorado River Indian tribes. The Hopi reservation covers an area of 6,557.27. Say 6,000. I repeat the figure. 6,557.27 kilometers square. Today, the Hopi reservation is completely surrounded by the Navajo reservation. The two nations share a designated use area, and the partitioning of the land by congressional orders in 1974 and 1996 has led to long-term controversy. Comparison with Sumeria. Once you learn about the Ant people, you can't help but compare them to the ancient Sumerian text of the Anu-Naki. In ancient cultures, there is a common thread of worship of star beings who will someday return. Animals symbolizing these beliefs appear frequently in ancient art. The Hopi have a great reverence for ants, similar to the way the Sumerian Egyptians and other cultures had a special reverence for cows, and the Egyptians for cats and felines, just as I do. Cows may have represented our galaxy, the Milky Way, and in the case of ants, they described beings from the stars known as the Ant people. The Hopi words for Ant people or Ant friends create a direct link to the Anunnaki stories. It could be a coincidence, but it is quite striking. The Babylonian sky god was named Anu, which is the Hopi word for ant. The word Naki translates as friends. Therefore, Anu-Naki translates as ant friends in Hopi. In both languages, they are describing outside visitors, but the Hopi say that these ant people came from beneath the earth. The key to Orion. Another strikingly similar word is the Hopi word Sohu, which means star, and the Egyptian word Sahu means stars of Orion. This constellation is seen repeatedly throughout the ancient world. Ancient astronaut theorists note that Orion and other systems such as the Pleiades appear again and again in the design of pyramids and ancient structures. Another coincidence? In Hopi legend, these ant people were their savior, taking them underground and teaching them how to survive two extreme cataclysms. Once again, we see stories of a great flood as described in Sumerian texts and the Bible. Surviving underground with the ant people, the Hopi ancestors learned how to grow food with little water and build dwellings in the rocks. They learned about the stars and mathematics and would use those skills when founding a new civilization. When it was safe to return to the surface, the ant people instructed the construction of incredibly complex dwellings, like those seen today in Chaco Canyon. From above, they may look like a giant anthill. The structures included kivas, a Hopi word for round, semi-subterranean ceremonial halls entered by stairs from above. During these two world cataclysms, the virtuous members of the Hopi tribe were guided by a strangely shaped cloud by day and a moving star by night that led them to the sky god named Sotuknang, who eventually led them to the ant people, who then escorted the Hopi to subway caves where they found shelter and sustenance. The stories of giants and other strange beings who have lived in the depths of the earth are seen all over the world. In Hopi legend, these beings were benevolent and helped the tribe even to their own detriment. It is to say, they were generous. Chaco Canyon. The Chaco Canyon settlement has housed thousands of Anasazi inhabitants who believed they were protecting Mother Earth. However, the ancient peoples mysteriously disappeared, along with any sign of the ant people. Today, researchers believe that climate change drove them away because the growing population couldn't sustain itself. The Anasazi integrated with tribes such as the Hopi, Zuni, and Rio Grande. As the modern world faces extreme challenges, the teaching of these tribes are more important than ever. Can we learn to respect the natural world and live in harmony with Mother Earth? Or are we headed for inevitable disasters like those described in Hopi legends? Ancient astronaut theorists often speculate whether beings from other worlds could help humans overcome future disasters. In the case of the Hopi legends, it seems that they did just that. Could the ant people return from deep within the earth or from their home in the stars in our current time of need? America. The astronomical secrets held by Mesoamerica's largest carved stone. The ancient Huastecan city of Tamtoc, located in northeastern Mexico, contains a monument that is the largest carved stone in Mesoamerica, perhaps a marker of the passage of time, according to archaeoastronomer Jesús Galindo Trejo. Mapuches in Argentina insist on being recognized as guardians of nature. The Argentine Patagonia in the south of the country is an area of dispute between different Mapuche communities and the state, private landowners and concessionaires for the exploitation of public lands. They are demanding historical restitution to ensure the conservation of forests, land and water, and to stop the sale of priceless lands to private capital. Protests against Repsol after oil spill in Peru unleashed clashes. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered in Plaza San Martín in Lima, Peru, to protest against the transnational energy giant Repsol, multinational. The move came in the wave of the oil spill that has caused a colossal environmental disaster. The protests on February 4th ended in clashes with the Peruvian police, who were trying to control the movement of hundreds of demonstrators. Approximately 12,000 barrels of oil spilled into the sea from a tanker at the La Pampilla refinery after the vessel was hit by waves in mid-January. The waves were reportedly caused after the eruption of the Hunga Tonga Hunga Hapi Hapai submarine volcano. This is a name typical of Pacific. Ecology. Spain's greatest environmental jewel in danger of extinction due to drought. The Andalusian government proposes to legalize 1,600 hectares of illegal crops that threaten the Llana. The largest ecological reserve in Europe is battered by drought and overexploitation of the aquifer. Farmers demand more water, but scientists and environmentalists warn of the environmental and socio-economic risk. All interests are legitimate and difficult to reconcile. Japanese squirrels eat poisonous mushrooms and don't die. When consumed by humans, amanita mushrooms can cause hallucinations, convulsions, coma, and even death. Scientists have discovered that squirrels in Japan can safely consume highly poisonous mushroom every day. World's largest fish hatchery discovered in Antarctica, up to 60 million ice fish. The discovery is considered a sufficiently relevant argument to establish a marine protected area in the Weddell Sea in the Atlantic. Researchers of the Alfred Wegener Institute have discovered there the largest known fish breeding area in the world to date. According to the scientists' estimates, some 60 million ice fish nest there in an area of about 240 square kilometers. The ice fish is the vertebrate animal with the lowest red blood cell count. This allows it to withstand very low temperatures. It is the most characteristic fish of the Antarctic seas. Ritual purification. Buddhist purification ritual in an icy stream in Japan. Buddhist monks have performed a purification ritual by bathing in a cold stream in western Japan at Koyasan. Mount Koya is known as the center of Shingon Buddhism. More than 100 temples are located there. The annual ritual took place on Sunday in a river that runs through the Okonoin Temple. The mausoleum of the founder of Shingon Buddhism is located at Okunoin. 8 people dressed in white and holding head beads in their hands took part. They chanted sutras to the sound of wooden palms. The air and water temperature was 0 degrees Celsius at 10 o'clock in the morning. Science and technology. A new material is created that is stronger than bulletproof glass, but as light as plastic. It is a 2-dimensional waterproof polymer that could be used to make cell phone and car coatings as well as to build bridges. Chemical engineers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have created a new material that is harder than steel and as light as plastic tanks to a new polymerization process. The new space age to infinity and beyond. Space science has taken a quantum leap in the last year. Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, and SpaceX flew their first tourism-focused missions. Meanwhile, NASA successfully landed its robot on Mars, and the James Webb Space Telescope, the world's most powerful of its kind, was launched into orbit days before this 2021. More money is being invested in space technology than ever before, with Morgan Stanley forecasting that the sector will exceed $1 billion by 2030. Private investments in space companies exceeded $10 billion last year, the highest in history. 2021 also saw a record of 132 successful orbital launches, with China and Elon Musk's SpaceX exemplifying a mix of private and government-funded missions. In addition, there were renewed efforts to return to the moon, and there will be more missions to the so-called Red Planet. One company that has been at the forefront of space exploration is Virgin Group. Its subsidiary, Virgin Orbit, which was founded in 2017, has been part of a space program that began in the mid-90s of the last century. We can pick an airport anywhere in the world and within weeks turn it into a spaceport, said Dan Hart, President and CEO of Virgin Orbit. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.